A beautiful Monday morning. Yeah, I'm glad to be on your screens this morning. It's an amazing Monday morning, like I said, and it's going to be an amazing, super amazing week for us. My name is Margaret Topara, and yes, my amazing colleague is me in the studio. Good morning.
Michael Nath here. Good morning. Hey,
Good morning, Michael.
Friday night was something else.
Traffic, yeah?
The gridlock.
It was terrible. You know, from Festac to Ikeja we left Festac at about past let's say 2 p.m. or past 1 p.m. and we got to Oshodi. It rained on the way. It started raining. Well, it started raining before then, and we got to Oshodi. The car was more like it was submerged in water. We spent almost 5 hours in Oshodi. So from Oshodi to Ikeja to the airport took like 3 more hours. So I got from 1:30. I got to my house by 11:57 p.m. How many hours is that?
You got to your house earlier than I did. I got to my house around 2 a.m.
I see you.
You can't believe it. Whatever was the cause, I hope it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, and the flooding system in Lagos State is not so as good as it should be, being the center of excellence that Lagos is supposed to be.
We need more drainage systems, no doubt about it.
That.
What we got in store for you today, all it takes to brighten your day and keep you smiling all the day long. We got the news updates, paper review. We got a topic for discussion, and today's topic is going to be a very interesting one for every well-meaning Nigerians. Just stay with us and find out what we got in store for you. And we're going to bring up the rear this morning with social media buzz and, of course, quote of the day. Now, let's kick off with the news update. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya, has assured Nigerians that the Nigerian Army will remain focused in tackling the myriad of security challenges bedeviling the country. Yahya gave the assurance in his goodwill message to officers, soldiers, and their families on the occasion of Eid al-Kabir celebration 2021 in Abuja. He noted the Eid al-Kabir festival highlighted the virtues of loyalty, obedience, and sacrifice, which were the hallmark of professional soldiering.
And now the Zamfara State Governor Bello Matawale of Zamfara has expressed shock at the killing of 13 police officers by suspected bandits. The police personnel were gunned down at a mobile camp in Kuramota community in the Bugodo local government area of the state. The governor's reaction is contained in a statement by Malam Yusuf Idris, Director General Media, Public Enlightenment and Communications, Government House, Gusel. Matawale promised to ensure the perpetrators are apprehended or a good level of success made towards their arrest.
Now, Muslim pilgrims vaccinated against COVID-19 have gathered the annual Hajj pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia, which has barred worshippers from abroad for a second year running due to the pandemic, and has also restricted entry from inside the kingdom. Clad in white and carrying umbrellas against the blistering summer sun, 60,000 Saudi citizens and residents are performing the rite, a once-in-a-lifetime duty for every able-bodied Muslim who cannot afford or who can afford it, compared with some 2.5 million, which was the case in 2019. With the coronavirus, the main concern this year, authorities have restricted access to pilgrims aged 18 to 65 who have been fully vaccinated or immunized against the virus and do not suffer from chronic diseases.
Still on the following scene, the Brazilian president has left the Sao Paulo hospital where he spent 4 days undergoing treatment for complications following a near-fatal 2018 stabbing, and said he will be back at his desk in Brasilia on Monday. In an earlier statement, the hospital said the president will remain under observation as an outpatient. The 66-year-old president was taken to the Sao Paulo hospital for treatment relating to an obstructed intestine following the 2018 knifing. He did not require surgery. Speaking to media outside the hospital, the president defended his government's handling of the pandemic and vaccination rollout. On this note, we'll call it a wrap on the news updates. Up next, we'll be reviewing some of the papers, the top stories on our Nigerian dailies. So stay with us.
Most people don't understand the magic of the perfect skin, the allure of the well-pampered skin. We bounce from skincare products to skincare products, from spa to spa, looking for that ideal solution. I found the solution. And it's Blemiville Skincare and Spa. My name is Neil, and I'm proud to be a part of the Blemiville family.
You go enter market, just make you go buy fresh palm fruits. When you reach house, you go wash, you go pound, your body go dey pain you, even your fingernails go dey pain you. But make una no worry, make una relax. I get good news for una. Una don hear of Banga fresh palm fruit extract. All you need to do na make you go for the up, open am. Take the amount wey you want, put am for your pot. Which soup you wan make? Shey na egusi, shey na ogbono, shey na vegetable, shey na banga. My sister no waste time again, my brother no waste time again. Just go buy Banga fresh palm fruit extract. They go know say you sabi cook and you be better cook.
Banga, make your food yummy yum.
Distributors needed nationwide. Phone number 081 63974447, 08035644436, 07066638213. Banga Fresh Palm Fruit.
Most people don't understand the magic of a perfect skin, the allure of a well-pampered skin. We bounce from skincare products to skincare products, from spa to spa, looking for that ideal solution. I found the solution. And it's Blemiville Skincare and Spa. My name is Neil, and I'm proud to be a part of the Blemiville family.
Swift Dry Cleaners Limited, professional dry cleaners, best in dry cleaning and laundry services, and meets the needs of our consumers. Yeah, Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Yeah. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Yeah, for clean wash and quick delivery. Yeah, Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. For clean wash and quick delivery.
Swift Dry Cleaners. Clean wash.
Mama,
You're coming to Lagos. Banga. Baby, Mama just called me now. She's coming to see you. She asked me to tell you to make banga soup for her. And she's close to the house. Oh.
How do you expect me to prepare banga in just few minutes?
I have a solution for you.
Really?
If you no sabi cook the banga, you no go enter my family.
Pali banga is used in making other exotic dishes such as banga jollof rice, banga eforiro, banga asaro or yam porridge, banga egusi, and many more. Pali banga is easy to open, no preservatives, no cholesterol, and no coloring. Approved by NAFDAC. Manufactured by Pali Agro Products Limited. Available in all leading stores and supermarkets nationwide.
Pali banga, natural palm fruit extracts for tasty African.
Now it's time for us to bring you the headlines on some of today's Nigerian dailies. And we have right here in the studio guests, analysts. He is the immediate past Director General, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and the person of Muda Yusuf. Mr. Yusuf, good morning and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Now we're kicking off with the nation. State's repayment of $2.1 billion threatens workers' wages with rider their CBN to give bridge facility.
Now moving to the Punch paper, the screaming headline says Buhari's aid defense rejection, NBA others say resolution illegal and selfish. With the writer saying Senate listens to Communications Commission, cited risks of hacking, says Ojudu. National Assembly has tied INEC hands, beliefs to the Electoral Commission since NBA, and finally for the writer saying any legislation that whittles down INEC's independence unconstitutional, coming from the SANs.
From the Business Day, massive oil theft to cost Nigeria 2.155 trillion naira in 2021. We also have there microfinance banks loan book rises on CBN, fintech injection.
Now the Guardian paper says high prices deprive faithful of Salah celebration amid declining inflation. And just a stop story for the Guardian. So
all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's begin with this, Mr. Yusuf. Let's begin with this from the Business Day. Massive oil theft to cost Nigeria 2.155 trillion naira in 2021. What a humongous amount. What do you have to say there?
It is humongous. And this is a problem that we had contended with over the years. Of course, the oil companies have invested a lot in ensuring security. The government has also done its bit. I mean, you recall that there was this amnesty program and all of these things just to ensure that we have some level of security in that area. But unfortunately, the problem seems not to have abated. And that is also contributing to the massive degradation of the environment that we see. Of course, I mean, look at all the debate around the host community, environmental impact and all of that. Of course, the oil companies have their own issues. But all this vandalization of pipelines and all of that are also contributing to the problem of degradation of the environment. So apart from the losses being suffered by the country, losses being suffered by the oil companies, there are also implications even for the communities themselves. Because it's also a major contributory factor to the degradation of the environment. All these oil spills, people cannot do fishing, they can't go to farm, all sorts of issues. And that has, kind of pushed some of the oil companies now as a matter of strategic response to be looking more at the offshore activities. That is moving from onshore to offshore. And I hear that even many of them now also have to move their crude in batches. Rather than move the crude through pipelines.
Can you imagine?
They put it on barges and load it to the vessels that will export it. So they are also working out strategies to get around this, because it has become a problem that is intractable, as it were.
And it doesn't seem there is anything the federal government can do.
Well, yes. I mean, it's almost becoming a hopeless situation.
Wow.
Permits me to use that word, because the government has done all it can, especially around ensuring that they build an inclusive system. Introducing the amnesty program, the NDDC program, the derivation program, Niger Delta Ministry,
and
all of these things.
And the militants are also threatening to come back. Giving conditions.
Exactly. So it's a major issue. It's a major issue for the economy. It's a major issue for investors. And it's even a major issue even for the Niger Delta people themselves.
Wow.
So the earlier we're able to deal with that, and just as I said, the oil companies, as a matter of business strategy, are now moving operations away from onshore to offshore. At least offshore, at least the risk of all of this vandalization and all of that is quite minimal. Yeah. It's worse when it is onshore, when you have to move all these pipelines on the surface and all of that.
Wow.
So that is their own strategic response to it, which makes sense to me.
It really does.
Yeah,
it really does make sense.
Moving to The Guardian, there's the story saying high prices deprive faithful of Salah celebration amid declining inflation. Like over the weekend, someone was mentioning the price of the common RAM from 30,000 naira. He mentioned it was 60,000 naira upwards. Like this is small RAM. So this declining inflation, like it's been something that's been talked about for a very long time. So why is this?
You see, the inflation situation is a very worrisome phenomenon. The last figures we had was about 17.5 or 6, although there's a slight moderation. The inflation as at May was 17.9. Now we had just a few, maybe 0.15 decline. But the important thing is that headline inflation is still in the threshold of 17%, slightly above 17%. Food inflation is over 21%. Yeah, so even though we have had a very minimal deceleration, the inflationary pressure is still very much intense.
Very high, very high.
So it's not just about RAM. It's about the totality of the economy.
Everything.
It's about food. You need to talk to the average person on the streets. You need to talk to especially the low-income earners.
There's no value
how people lament about high prices in the market. There are some products, especially food products, in the last 6 months whose prices have doubled.
Yes.
And people's income are not increasing. So when you are talking of poverty, when you are talking of misery of the people, one of the biggest problems has to do with inflation. Wow. Yes, RAM, because it's the season of rams, but we have been contending with this even before this or something.
Sure.
Talk of garlic, talk of palm oil, talk of rice, talk of beans, talk of yam, talk of anything. That is food. Then you have basic things like pharmaceuticals.
Even transportation too.
Talk to people who have medical conditions. You will feel sorry for them. Especially in a situation where the state doesn't give much support when it comes to healthcare and all of that. Some of the prices of some basic pharmaceutical products had gone up almost 200%. So inflation is a very big issue.
It is.
It's affecting the welfare of the people. It's affecting investment. It's affecting profits. And ultimately, it's also detrimental to the economy. So it's a major issue that we need to contend with. We need to identify the key drivers of this inflation and come up with a strategy on how to deal with them.
This is a suggestion.
Yes.
But would you think the government is doing anything in this regard?
Well, we are not seeing much yet. Before now, we saw some steps by the CBN trying to tighten monetary policy and all of that. But this issue is not essentially monetary. It's basically about the costs of production,
Yeah.
You talk about cost of transportation. You talk about exchange rate depreciation. You talk about liquidity problem in the foreign exchange market. You talk about productivity within the economy. You know, if an economy is not operating efficiently, it will affect your output.
Everything, every other thing.
If output is affected, there is no way you not have inflation. And look at even security problem. The security problem is also a major factor in the food inflation that we are having.
It is.
All the people who are supposed to be on their farms,
They can't go.
they can't go. Many of them are in IDP camps. Those who are not in the IDP camps are even afraid to go to the farm. And this is happening across the country, across most of the farming communities.
So the question now is, how long are we going to live with this?
Well, the government has to live up to its responsibility. We have voted a government in power. The resources, everything is available to the government. The government has to live up to its responsibility. Because the number one responsibility of government is to provide security of life and property. That is very basic. So if a government is failing in that respect, then we have a major problem.
Yeah. Earlier when my colleague read the top story from Business Day, you mentioned that when he asked what the government has been doing, you mentioned that the government has done its best in terms of for the Niger Deltans. Well, contrary to your opinion, popular opinion, thinks that the government are not doing enough, or the Niger Deltas are thinking that this is not what they actually really want. Or maybe there are some people who are siphoning whatever the government is giving to the people for their pocket. So in respect to that, and now you just also mentioned that the government is not living up to expectations. So in what context are we going to take both of your words?
You see, the thing about it is that, first, the people in the Niger Delta also have to take responsibility, for effective management of resources. When you compare the resources available, particularly from federal allocation, to some of the states in the Niger Delta, compared to some of the states that are not within that belt, some of them earn close to 300-500% more than what you have for states that are not in that region. And we also need to be fair to the federal government. We have the Federal Ministry of Niger Delta. They have statutory allocation. Their mandate is the development of the Niger Delta. And most times, the ministers of those ministries are people from that zone. We have the NDDC, Niger Delta Development Commission. The mandate is to ensure development in that area. We have the 13% derivation. We are talking of hundreds of billions.
Of course.
When you put all these things together. We have the 13% derivation, which is supposed to be targeted at the host communities. It's still a lot of money. It's applicable only to people, oil producing states. We have the amnesty program, which has a budget, annual budget in the there's federal allocation annually for amnesty, which is also in billions of naira. So, and now there's been a lot of debate. We now have 3% host community.
Which is still controversial.
Which is still controversial. But by the time you put all of these things together,
the government is trying.
I think if you want to be fair to the government, both the present and the previous, I mean, something has happened.
Okay.
But what of accountability of those who have the responsibility to manage these resources?
Yes, that's the point.
We need to hold them accountable.
Actually, that's
and most of them are also from the Niger Delta.
Okay.
Wow.
So we should ask the relevant questions.
All right, sir.
That is not to say that we cannot do a lot more.
Sure.
Of course, we can do more. The government can do more. Yeah.
That's a question to be answered.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Right now, we are bringing you the major topic for discussion this morning. As Nigeria's economic challenges continue to worsen amidst increasing inflation, unemployment, and debt profile, it is important to make sense of the underlying factors responsible for this abysmal economic situation. Well, we still have right here in the studio Mr. Yusuf. Now, as a key regional player in Africa, accounting for about half of West Africa's population and blessed with huge natural resources. Economically speaking, is Nigeria doing enough as the giant of Africa?
Oh. Certainly we are not doing enough. Because first, Nigeria is the biggest economy in Africa.
Yeah.
And all of this is not so much as a result of any serious deliberate policy. First, it's on account of maybe some natural resources that we have, on account of the enterprising nature of the people and all of that. But ideally, as the largest economy in Africa, we should be doing a lot more than we are doing, especially from the point of view of investments, attracting investments. Because if you look at the investment environment now, it's not anything to write home about. Yeah. And that is why we have, these issues of unemployment, issues of poverty and all of that. So we can do a lot more. I mean, look at the oil and gas sector. We are an oil-producing country. We have been an oil-producing country since close to 50 years now. Where is the value addition to crude oil? Every year we spend billions of dollars, not naira, billions of dollars importing petroleum products. All our refineries are practically moribund. So all the value that we should have been getting from the oil and gas sector, we are not getting. Because imagine if all the 4 refineries were functioning. Imagine the multiplier effect on the rest of the economy. Imagine the savings in terms of foreign exchange that we spend. Because sometimes I see the CBN struggle to ban this, ban that. Yeah. Whereas the biggest source, the biggest pressure on our foreign exchange is importation of petroleum products. And we are an oil-producing country. So that is a major shortcoming.
And you wouldn't think some individuals are making a lot of money out of this?
Well, people will always take advantage of any situation. But it is the responsibility of the government to ensure that the system works, to ensure that the government gets value from its investment, and to ensure that we create the right kind of environment for these investments to come. Ideally, Nigeria should be the oil and gas hub of the entire Africa. Yeah. If we got it right. I mean, look at what the UAE, Dubai, and Middle East, look at what they have used oil to transform their economy to. Yeah. Look at the quality of infrastructure that they have built. Right now, percentage of oil contribution to some of the economic activities is far, far low. Because they have used the resources from oil to develop infrastructure, to create their country, make it a major tourism hub for the whole world. Industries, free trade zone, everything is there. And security. But we have that kind of huge resources given to us by God. Just want to leverage on it to develop other sectors of the economy. We have mismanaged it.
But don't you think that Nigerians, we are focused so much on the fact that we are an oil-producing country, and we forget the many things that could boost our economy. For instance, agriculture is one of Nigerian non-oil exports. And living in Ondo for a while, a short period of time, I could see that Ondo State is rich with cocoa, and there's actually a marijuana farm there. So all of those things. Now, someone mentioned that there is oil that's gone from the oil boom now to the oil doom, and it's time for people to, that's for laughs, it's time for people to shift their attention. We now have so many young graduates all want to work in oil companies, and forgetting that agriculture is one of Nigeria's amazing, it could boost the economy by far. So in the agricultural sector, don't you think it's now time to look more into it? Since the oil now, we'll see that for a while we've been talking about it and it's not working. it doesn't seem to be working. So I don't think it's time to shift our attention and probably do what worked for us.
You see, we cannot walk away from it because it's not working. Because it still holds the key. Because to develop agriculture, you need money. Because you have to fix your infrastructure. To some extent, you even need to subsidize agriculture. Just as it's done in many other advanced economies. You need resources to do that. And one of the easiest ways you can get resources is from this, because you need oil to also get out of oil. You need to take advantage of what you can get while it lasts. Because things are changing. There's now a movement away from fossil fuel to renewable energy. Electric cars and all of that.
Yeah.
In another 10, 15, 20 years, this oil will become almost irrelevant. So we need to ensure efficiency in that sector. That does not diminish the fact that we should develop other sectors. And these things are not mutually exclusive anyway. You can be developing the oil sector, and be developing agric, developing manufacturing, developing mining.
It doesn't hurt anybody.
It doesn't hurt anybody. It doesn't disturb any of those initiatives. That is why you have Ministry of Agriculture, you have Ministry of Industry, you have Ministry of Mining, you have water resources, you have all sorts of agencies. But the system needs to work. But now, a good thing that has taken place is this PIB.
Okay.
The Petroleum Industry Bill. Because making some of these sectors to work is also about reforming the policies. It's about reforming the regulatory environment. Because if the environment is not right, you cannot develop the economy. Because you need investors to develop an economy. If your fiscal policy is not right, if your tax policy is not right, if your regulatory environment is not right, you can't get investment. And government cannot do this thing by itself. We just talk about our experience with refineries. They are what they are because government is the one running them. They are what they are because the policy environment is not supportive of private investment. So we need to create the environment. So the Petroleum Industry Bill is a good first step to bring some sanity to the oil and gas sector, to make it more investment friendly. For the past 10, 15 years, we haven't seen any serious major investment in the upstream because of all this policy uncertainty. We have been on this Petroleum Industry Bill now for close to 15 years.
Yeah, about 20 years,
yes.
Actually. 20 years.
In and out, all sorts of interest and all of that. And increasingly, progressively, oil and gas is losing relevance.
Yeah, exactly what I was trying to say.
That is what is happening. So if we get the reforms right, we get efficiency back into those systems. We get more investment into those systems. And if investment is growing, GDP will grow.
Yeah.
Sure.
Employment will grow. Revenue will grow. And with more revenue, the government can do a whole lot of things, especially around infrastructure and around the social sector. And when I talk about social sector, I'm talking about education, I'm talking about health. There's a lot of lamentation across all of these sectors. I just talked to you now about what people who have medical conditions, what they are going through.
Yeah.
It's so expensive.
Very, very.
For the common man, can't even afford.
Yes. Even for the not so common man, it's not easy. Yes. I mean, people who are talking about all this COVID, you go on admission, they say, okay, deposit 1 million naira first for oxygen and all of that. In some hospitals, 5 million naira. Even for the average middle class, how many of them can afford that? And this is a major sector where government should be a dominant player. If the policies were right, if you had a health insurance that was working. Because the demand for health services is there, but the demand is not effective because it's not backed up by cash. And all over the world, it is the health insurance that provides funding for the health sector. It's not individuals going to the hospital and be bringing out money. It doesn't work that way.
Now,
So the point I'm making is that policies are very important to transform an economy. There are macro policies. That's policies that cut across practically all sectors. We talk about things like foreign exchange policy, for instance. It cuts across, it affects practically all sectors. We talk about investment, monetary policy, interest rate policies, tax policies. Those things affect all sectors. Then you have sector-specific policies, like all this PIB that you just talked about now. Like even in agriculture, in healthcare, in education. There's a lot of investment that can also come into education.
Yeah.
If you take a place like Lagos and some of these urban centers, you have more private schools than government schools. Yeah. Are those not investments? You have more private hospitals than public hospitals. Are those not investments? Or what environment are we creating for them? So when we talk about economy and the state of economy, you look at the macro environment, which is about GDP performance. You know, as an economist, those are the numbers that they look at.
That matter.
What is the GDP? Are we recovered from recession? We got out of recession in 2020 Q4. We got an improvement in Q1 of I think 0.11% or so. So the last GDP figure we had was I think in Q2 it was 0.5% GDP growth. Of course, if you compare that to population growth and all of that, it's still a big gap. You know? But at least we are moving gradually. But if you talk to an average man out there, that's okay, who have been told that the economy is out of recession, they will tell you, are you sure we are out of recession?
Because nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing seems to have been changing. It's been the same thing.
If anything, things have even gotten worse. As far as the average man is concerned. Meanwhile, as an economist, you say, okay, going by the data, because since the economy, the GDP is now positive, then we are out of recession. But if you talk to an average man, as far as the average man is concerned, economy is about welfare.
Yeah.
Sure.
The welfare is not improving. It's getting worse.
Minimum wage is still the same thing.
So you can't say that the economy is improving to an average man. If you talk to the investor, the perspective of an investor is also different from the perspective of the economist. Are you making more profit? Is your sales increasing? What is your cost of production? What is your margin? Are you able to create more jobs? So from the perspective of an investor, very few investors will tell you that things are getting better. And because of all this COVID, there are even some sectors that have not even recovered from COVID as we speak. So when we are assessing an economy, it depends on who is speaking. An economist will be looking at GDP. You'll be looking at inflation. You'll be looking at exchange rate stability and all these macroeconomic variables. An investor who's an entrepreneur is looking at the cost of operation. He's looking at the challenges he's facing at the ports. He's looking at the cost of transportation. He's looking at the cost of fund. He's looking at access to foreign exchange, which many people don't have access to. He's looking at the exchange rate depreciation. How do you get your raw materials? How are you coping in the market with all this influx of some cheap products from Asia? These are the things that will worry an investor.
Okay.
And for the common man, what is the cost of food?
Food stuff.
Food. Healthcare. Cost of education for the children. Cost of transportation. Because to move from one point to the other, the downfall driver doesn't want to know whether you are a manager or you are a messenger.
He will charge.
He charge you the same amount.
Yeah.
And we have some staff, what they spend of transportation is almost more than 50% of what they are earning, depending on where they are coming from, where they are staying. All of these things put a lot of pressure on
the electricity tariff, it's been increasing.
Electricity tariff, And we have had all sorts of stories about estimated billing, which has no bearing at all to the consumption of electricity and all of that. So looking at the economy, we look at it holistically so that we are not academic in our analysis. Yeah. You know. So
Okay.
That is.
All right, sir. It's quite a laudable step there taken by the president when he came up with the economic diversification, trying to now focus on agriculture. And the federal government has been doing a lot in this regard, subsidizing the prices of fertilizer, providing startup funds for small and medium
scale farmers.
And stuff. Wouldn't you think the government in this very aspect is also deserve commendation?
You see, there is a distinction between the actions or activities or programs of government and the outcomes of those programs. It is one thing, sometimes they talk about a lot of motion and no movement.
No movement.
Something like that also happens around some of these policies. Of course, there has been some steps taken. The CBN in particular has pumped a lot of money into some of these programs. I was watching a documentary recently where it was reported that over 500 billion had been spent on the Anchor Borrowers program. That's 0.5 trillion. That's a lot of money.
A lot.
But if you take a sample of the farmers and ask them how well this has impacted, you'll be lucky to get a positive response from even 10 to 15% of them. So, in terms of the impact of some of these things, the impacts sometimes are not commensurate to the resources that have been put in some of these things. That's a case of disproportionality. Because when we hear a report that we have spent over 500 billion on a program, and you do a sample of the farmers and maybe only 10% acknowledge that something has happened.
It's as good as nothing happened.
Then, and in any case, if there has been a significant impact, are we going to be having the kind of crisis you are having with food? That's not to diminish what the government has done. No. But the good way to measure the results is you go to the market.
And the prices of food.
And the price of food is down. It's not enough to just display pyramids of rice here and there. The bottom line is, what is the cost of food? And there are a lot of other factors beyond just throwing money at problems. We just talk about security now. To the average farmer up north and in many parts of the country, sorting out the problem of security is more important than giving them money or giving them fertilizer. Because they can't even just go to the farm. So when you are talking about agriculture today now, one of the best solutions you can give to the farmer is to solve the security problem. That is it. Because even those who are in IDP camp, they say they are fed up. How much can you give people? How sustainable is it? It's not sustainable.
It's not.
Yeah.
You see, they want to go back to their farm. That is what they want the government to do for them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, rather than get better, it's getting worse. Then you have the issue of even infrastructure. Because developing agriculture is also about talking about the value chain of agriculture.
Yeah.
There's the primary segment of agriculture, which is going to farm
Yes.
up and all of that. There's the challenge of transportation of this agricultural produce, because many of them are perishable.
Yeah.
There is the challenge of linking agri with industry, agro-allied industries, processing and all of that. How much of the processing capacity do we have?
Yeah, and
There is the element of even packaging. Because all of these things work together. If you go to the advanced economy, you'll be amazed how they package some things that you just take for granted. It has a way of elevating the quality, the profile of the product. It makes some of even our products even more exportable. You know? So all of this, the entire value chain is what requires investment. Because there is no point you grow something in the farm, you can't move it to the market. You can't process it. You can't store it. You need a lot more things in the economy to also complement what is happening in agriculture. Talk to those people who are in the fishery industry. Maintaining a cold room is a very big challenge because you need power.
No power.
And look at the cost of diesel now. I'm sure if you talk to accounts, person who's managing your accounts here, if they give you the bill of diesel, it's probably more than the cost of the salaries of everybody around there. All of these things are also important. So we should also have a kind of integrated view of the economy. If you want to grow agriculture, you must also ensure that there is infrastructure.
Yeah, exactly.
You must also ensure that agro-allied industries are doing well. You must also ensure that your ports are working. Because all of these things have to work together.
Into play.
Yeah.
To ensure that we get an economy that is making progress. An economy that is creating jobs. Because I must tell you, for many entrepreneurs, investing in this environment can be very, very frustrating. Can be very frustrating. And on top of that, the moment you sort up the business, a lot of tax people will be visiting you.
Unnecessary tax.
From the local government, the state government, the federal government. People visit you not to ask you how you are doing or how government can support you.
It is to grab the one you already have.
It's to grab the one you already have. Even when the business has not even started making money. So all of these things are important. That is why I said, apart from the macroeconomic issues, investment climate issues are as critical as the macroeconomic issues. If investment climate is not good, you can't get investment. If you don't have investment, you can't create jobs. You can't grow the GDP. Government alone cannot do these things. And it's becoming increasingly clear by the day that government alone cannot sort or solve these problems. We need private investors. Some of them domestic, some of them foreign. But the regulatory environment, the policy environment has to be very conducive for these things to happen.
That's the key. That's the key point there. The insecurity. I was going to talk about the outward drift of most of our industries. You know, some of them have become moribund already, and the existing ones are looking for environment where you have a more favorable business atmosphere to operate in. And by so doing, Nigeria is actually losing a lot of industrialists. You know, to look at Ghana, for instance. And when foreign investors when they look at Nigeria and consider the population, which is a plus, and think of Ghana, which might come second, at the end of the day, Ghana will carry the day. Look at, what's this now? Toyota, even the Twitter stuff, everything is moving to Ghana. And the federal government doesn't seem to be moved a bit.
You see, if you go to all these Ikeja industrial estates, Ilupeju, Ogba, many of the premises that used to house factories are now either worship centers or event centers or supermarkets or warehouses for finished goods that are imported. That is the story of all these axes now. Many of the factory premises have been converted into some of these things. Because industrialization in this environment is very, very tough. Very tough. Of course, a few people are thriving, particularly those who are big, who have the capacity, to absorb some of the shocks. They are thriving and all of that. And with the advent of the African Continental Free Trade area, we are going to open up the entire African market to more or less like a single market. And the whole idea is to collapse the barriers to trade so that you have a market of about 1.3 billion people. That's the African market now. And you have a GDP of about 3.4 trillion US dollars. That's the GDP of the continent. We are talking now within the framework of the African Continental Free Trade Area. And what that will result to is that investors, because wherever you are within the AFCTA, you can produce and export to any part of Africa. And if you don't have anything, at least you have the market. So if you are not careful, you become more of a market destination than an investment destination. Because people would rather go and site their factories in Ghana. I just mentioned Ghana, Benin Republic, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, South Africa, Morocco, and all of that. Produce there and take advantage of the AFCTA to ship their products to Nigeria. So that is another challenge that is looming. Because even the few industrialists that are operating here, if you don't move quickly to make the environment more conducive for them, if you don't move quickly to make them more competitive, by the time we go fully into the AFCTA, the competition they'll be facing from all these other African countries, they will not be able to stand it. Because these products will come in cheaper. Many of them have better infrastructure. They have better ports. They have a lot of things. Even better support from their government. Better funding. Financing and all of that. You just move their products here and you find that our own industries here will struggle. Because we are still struggling with power. We are struggling with the ports. We are struggling with multiple taxation. We are struggling with all sorts of regulatory environment, regulatory agencies, regulatory fees, renewal fees, licensing fees, all these problems. How are you going to compete? So, whereas the AFCTA is a very good thing, but trade is about competitiveness.
It is.
It is those who can compete that can reap the benefit of trade. So it is important that we also get ourselves ready to take advantage of this AFCTA.
I was going to ask, what are the possible pitfalls of this African Continental Free Trade Agreement?
Well, first of all, you have a bigger space to operate. So it's like the survival of the fittest.
Okay.
So there will be beneficiaries, there will be winners, and there will be losers.
Where does Nigeria belong?
If you are not competitive, you are a loser. If you are competitive, you are a winner.
Okay.
That is the simple thing.
And what is the fate of Nigeria?
Well, that is the story we have been talking all day. A lot of challenges to competitiveness. So we need to engage stakeholders. A lot of engagement have been taking place, but we are not seeing outcomes yet.
Okay, sir. Now, for want of time, we are going to end this discussion, but not until we have asked you a question that requires a one-word answer. Now, talking about the economy of Nigeria, we are the second half of the year. Going forward, is your word between the two options, pessimism and optimism? Which would you go for?
Well, those are two extreme positions. I wish I had the option of a middle ground.
Okay.
Let me say I'm cautiously optimistic.
Thank you very much.
Let me just stay in the middle ground.
Thank you so much for your time and your thoughts.
Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure.
Yeah, that's been the immediate past Director General, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Muda Yusuf, doing justice to a topic for discussion this morning. At this juncture, we're going to take a break and come back with more for you on the show. Do not go away.
Powerful looks command respect, they say. The perfect body, the perfect grooming, and ultimately the perfect skin. Looks, style, and grooming makes the ultimate man. I've found a ridiculously easy way to make my skin always feel epic. My name is Neo. I found Blemiviv, and now my skin finally makes sense.
Fresh from the farm, e good for body. No chemical at all. This na real banga. No more wahala or pandy wash. Just put on for fire and your food done ready. Everybody follow me chop banga, hey banga, oh. Make you follow me chop
Banga cook don easy. Banga na palm fruit wey dem comot. Put am inside can. You fit use banga cook any kind soup wey you like. And other food dem like rice, beans and even yam. Na Pali Agro Product Limited dem dey manufacture am. For distribution, make you call 070-666-38213. Banga, for make your food yummy.
Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Professional dry cleaners. Best in dry cleaning and laundry services that meets the needs of our consumers. Yeah. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Yeah. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Yeah. For clean wash and quick delivery. Yeah. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. Swift Dry Cleaners Limited. For clean wash and quick delivery.
Swift Dry Cleaners. Clean wash.
Most people don't understand the magic of the perfect skin, the allure of a well-pampered skin. We bounce from skincare products to skincare products, from spa to spa. Looking for that ideal solution. I found the solution. And it's Blemiviv Skincare and Spa.
You're welcome back to the show. I hope you enjoyed that discussion segment with Mr. Muda Yusuf. Quite an interesting one there. The conversation has not ended. It continues on all our social media platforms. The live chat below, please send in your thoughts. Let's know what you think, and we'll be glad to hear from you. A lot of things have been happening on social media, and as usual, social media is buzzing. So this Monday morning was buzzing on social media. It's can you remember your first time at the ATM? And someone posted and said, how was it on your first experience at the ATM stand? Don't feel ashamed though. And responses are, Bola Abiyo Shodipo said, me, I just put on for the back of my mind that I won't disgrace myself here. Or your security man, please come and guide me. That's how disgrace doesn't locate me. Uncle Edward says, I used to go and practice it at night like a thief before I finally got money out of it on a normal day. Khadijat says, instead of inserting the arrowhead inside, I did it the other way around. See how everybody was shouting, Madam, if you don't know how to use them, call somebody, make it come help you now. See how I was trembling like chicken where then pour water for him body. Oh, wow. Then Hogun say it was in Ibadan at Bodija. Instead of me to follow the instructions, I was pressing cancel. Finally, I removed the card and pretend as if I know what I'm doing. Francisca responded and she said, I was inserting the card in that place where receipts are dispensed. Oh, wow. Then finally, Vince Oldham says, I went late, so I took my time because I was the only one there. After 3 or 4 trials, I was satisfied. Wow. Well, I think I go by what the first person says. Ask the security to help you. It's not crime in asking. Don't have to. Nobody knows everything. The first day I used the ATM, it was my account officer somewhere in Port Harcourt. It was Sterling Bank. I think I was in university then, first year. And I told him, after I got to the bank, I took my ATM card. I told him, please follow me. You're like, go downstairs, do this, do this. I was like, sir, follow me, please. So immediately he did it. He said I should do it, and I did it, and I took money out of it. He was like, no, you can also change your PIN without taking money. I'm like, no, let me practice now that I'm here with you. So if anybody's going to laugh, you are laughing at me. There is no that. So that was it. Simple.
The very first day I got to the ATM, there was this long queue. And I was one of the people whose turn, it was about my turn. You know what I did? I didn't quite get enough information as to how to operate it. So, and I knew I couldn't do it without assistance. You know what I did? It was my turn to get my own money. But I just stood by and told, just keep moving. I'm waiting for somebody. As they were doing, I was watching closely how they were doing stuff, you know. So when eventually I felt I had got it, I just went there and got my money.
There's no crime in asking for it. When you think you know how to do everything, you just end up maybe messing with yourself and feeling bad and feeling embarrassed. If you ask for help, you will get help.
Yeah, sure.
So thank you so much for joining us on the show today. It's been an amazing one talking to you. I'm just assuming I can see your beautiful faces, handsome faces, radiant smiles. If you're in the office or office work here, at home, on the road, we are here for you. We got you all the time, all day long. So I'll wrap up today's show. We will wrap up today's show with a quote from Thomas Jefferson that says, do you want to know who you are? Don't ask, act. Action will delineate and define you. Take that again. Do you want to know who you are? Don't ask, act. Action will delineate and define you. Coming from Thomas Jefferson. Rather than ask, act. Action will prove or will bring out that thing you really are or who you really are. And that's not to wrap up the show. Amazing show. If you missed it, by 1 p.m. we'll have a repeat belt for you. And do also join us tomorrow at 9 a.m. on the dot for another interesting and amazing section. My name is Margaret Opera.
Action speaks louder than words. Till tomorrow, this is Michael North.